I'm going to show you a little video. I want you to watch it. It's some chimps from one troop attacking and murdering, raping those of another troop. Okay, here it goes. Watch carefully. Chimps are chasing this female chimp around, and she manages to escape after struggling with them. Okay, there she goes. And they kill another one, and they eat them. They kill a little defenseless one on the other side. Okay, here you see them coming. Okay. Great show, huh? And people might say, well, these are just chimps. They're animals. And here we are, we're almost no different. In fact, I'd say we're not at all any different. We're monkeys, okay? Here you have Hamas attacked people in Israel, killed a whole bunch of people, took some of them hostages. Now the other side comes in and they want to beat up the Arabs over there because of what they did. Just killing, war. How are we different? And how does this relate to extinction? Well, I'm a little concerned because, as I've said before, the big problem here is if the economy of the United States falls apart. It's too big to fail. Okay, so if the economy of the United States ever flounders, we're all dead because so many countries in the world depend on the United States. Okay. Not only China happens to fall, then maybe something similar would happen, but I think the United States is a bigger economy, especially Europe depends a lot on it. And if the U.S. economy fails, the European economy would fall right with it, and that would be just too big, really too big to fail. And so what's the issue? The issue is we had a war, Ukraine, that was a pretty bad war. It was affecting the global economy. It was affecting the economy of the United States. Now apparently we're posed to invade Hamas. And what that's going to do is create a war with probably the whole Arab world. That's two wars that would take place more or less at the same time. These, I think, would be big wars, okay? And don't put it past them, but the Chinese said, they're going to wait another 4 years until they're better prepared to attack Taiwan. But, they might jump the gun, and decide to attack Taiwan during all this hullabaloo that's going on, this big mess that's going on. So we might have a third world war in a different scenario, in a different context where we have a war with China over there, the United States against China, a war between the United States and the Arab world, and a war against Russia. So that's stretching it thin for the military, but we're not worried about that. We're worried about what happens to the economies of every country in the world. And that's what I think you should think about, okay? Anyways, I talked about John Calhoun and his experiment. He ran an experiment with four couples of mice, and he let them multiply in that enclosure there. They multiplied, and after several months, he got over 2,200 mice in there, all descended from the same grandfathers. Okay, and so what's the issue here? Well, the issue is that the last mice, the last generation of mice, lots of them were homosexual and autistic, as John Calhoun, described them. And he used the phrase. He says he said in his report, they stopped being mice. When you see a normal mouse, he goes around, does his thing, tries to hide, tries to hunt, tries to do normal things, have sex with the females, etc. None of this happened at the end. The end, they were all just what he called autistic. Okay, and so all I can tell you is that you have to look at the variables, and I think the main variable is the pioneers. The grandfathers that gave birth to all of them. They all descended from those same grandfathers. The grandfathers themselves probably did not have great genetic diversity after thousands, maybe millions of years that the mice have been around. So the mice that you see in the labs, you probably check their DNA and they're all, or their chromosomes, etc., and they're probably all clones in a certain way. So that's bad starting point to begin with. But then, you put them in this enclosure and they multiply. They all come from the same parents. You have the founder's effect. Add to that the fact that, they've got this density in there that's increasing day by day. That's got an effect as well. So I think when you look at all these variables, you say, well, okay, I can see why he ended up with mice that had mental problems. Okay. Now, one fellow says, well, he doesn't believe that what he saw or what Calhoun did was autism, that he did not observe autism in mice. And he says the following, says, I don't think Calhoun's experiments adequately demonstrate autism being created in the lab. Okay. There were some mice who became asocial and stayed away from the others. Okay. I don't think that's necessarily autistic. There's been some talk coming from these two other guys I know that autism is not a dysgenic condition, but a vestigial psychology. Okay. So what is he talking about? Well, here's the first part of that, dysgenic. Okay. And says this is the definition: decrease in prevalence of traits considered to be either socially desirable or well adapted to their environment due to selective pressure disfavoring the reproduction of those traits. Okay, but there's this psychologist, and he's the guy who kind of worked on this, trying to make a case for it. He says in his book, Dysgenics, argued that a reduction in selection pressures and decreased infant mortality since the Industrial Revolution, he's talking about humans, not mice, okay, have resulted in an increased propagation of deleterious traits and genetic disorders. Lin lists three concerns: deterioration in health, intelligence, and conscientiousness. Okay. Lin claims that unlike modern societies, natural selection in pre-industrial societies favored what? Traits such as intelligence and character. Okay, and he's got detractors. Here's the other side of the story, people who looked at this as well. Okay, and they say the following. Since the 19th century, a race deterioration has been repeatedly predicted as a result of the excessive multiplication of less gifted people. Okay. Nevertheless, the educational and qualification level of people in the industrialized countries has risen strongly. The fact that the test intelligence has also significantly increased, okay, they're saying intelligence has increased among humans, right, is difficult to explain for supporters of the dysgenic thesis. They suspect that the phenotypic intelligence has increased for environmental reasons, while the genotypic quality secretly decreases. There is neither evidence nor proof for this theory. Okay. Am I having problems with the volume? I hope I don't have the same problem I had last time where the robot came in. Okay, let me know, please. Anyways, so there are differences of opinion. My take on this is that there has been a decrease, not in intelligence. I don't see it from an intelligence point of view. I'm saying that what has happened is that we've lost genetic diversity in the last 200 years. The human race does not have a great variation in its genetic diversity. There was a study, I showed it in the past, where you have a pack of chimps, just like you saw a minute ago, and maybe 100 of them. And they looked at the DNA, the variation that they had, and they said they had more variation than the entire human race. And we're talking about the entire human race, 8 billion people against 100 chimps taken at random over there in Africa, and 100 chimps had more variation than the entire human race. Every person on the planet today, humans, right? We're all alike. We're all clones. Doesn't matter if you're Japanese, African, Russian, South American, North American, Australian. We're all the same. We're all clones. Anyone who you marry today is either your sister or your brother from a biological standpoint. And that's got very little to do with what these people talk about. They went out there and they tried to look for evidence of dysgenics, meaning they went in there and they said, look, have we lost our intelligence? Are we becoming dumber every day or whatever? That's not the point. The point is, what is our biology? That's what I'm referring to. Okay, and I'm saying that what Calhoun observed in his lab when he did these experiments, he did 30 of them, but this was one of the last ones, I think. And what he observed is that the mice deteriorated very rapidly towards the end. And I don't think he was really referring to, how much intelligence they had or anything like that, even though that was part of his project. I think we're looking at what happened biologically to those mice because of Founder's effect and because of the density, crowdedness. Okay, and that's the way I look at that. Anyway, okay, this fellow continues and he says the following. He says, autistic people have far more nerve connections in their brains than allistic normal people. I had it in reverse. As far as I'm concerned, it's the other way around. As I understand it, there's been a study that shows that they have fewer connections in their brains. This fellow comes up with far more nerve connections. I don't know. We have two different facts there, okay? I don't know which one is true, okay? Autistic, what is that? Autism. No autistic means neurotypical. That means you're normal. That's all autistic means, okay? On the other hand, neurotypicals, anyone who is not autistic diagnosed with ADHD, dyslexia, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so then you're a normal, you're an autistic. They invent these terms, I don't know why, just to make things more complicated. They just should say normal, period, we're done. Okay, anyways, a study out there that I looked at, I don't have the reference there, brain development in people with autism differs from those with typical neural development. These differences are linked to what? Genes, genetics, involved in inflammation, immunity response, and neural transmissions. So I continue to insist, if I may, that autism is related to genetics, chromosomes, I'm not an expert. I can't tell you anything really about that. All I look at is the statistics out there. And I do give the example of the Amish. The Amish have been in the United States for about 350 years. They started out with a small population. I think there's different numbers out there, but around maybe 1,500 would be a good guess. Today, they're 300,000 Amish, and they're having all kinds of genetic problems. Why? Because they've been inbreeding. So it's a good experiment, done by humans, where you have population for 300 years inbreeding, and today they're having the results of some of those. They have weird genetic diseases, and what can you say to that? It's their genes which are screwed up because they're all alike. Okay, that's the way I look at it. Anyways, changing the subject a little bit, and in line with what we talked about the other day, which was the dinosaurs, we have one fellow says, huge dinosaurs never existed, just invented. No one found a big dinosaur before 1881. Well, I don't think this fellow has his facts right. And again, everybody can believe whatever facts they want, And here you have 1677, Robert Plot discovered femur of Megalosaurus. And in 1824, they found an iguanodon, or parts of him, right, of this animal. Again, you can say, well, you got your facts wrong, Bill. You can say whatever you want. There are some things that sometimes I question, about what are we going to call a fact. We all know, we all believe that Napoleon went to Waterloo in 1815. Okay, but none of us have been there. We don't know this. We take it for granted because it has been handed down from generation to us, okay? And so, there's no reason to deny it that Napoleon went to Waterloo, even though none of us were there, none of us witnessed it. We just read history, and this is what they tell us. Where does information come from? From our forefathers who recorded these events. There's no reason to doubt that. And likewise, there are certain facts that you have to accept, and some people deny even some of the most obvious facts that have no reason to be reinterpreted. among them the flat Earth. I'm sorry to say, but yeah, there's no reason to deny the global Earth, the globular Earth, you know, the roundish Earth. But some people do. And so what are you going to say? You know, all I can tell you is the dinosaurs, you know, were there 65 million years ago. They, at some point they disappeared about that time, 65 million years ago. Why? Because their carcasses, their you know, their bones, their whatever, their fossils are no longer found in the layer of rock at that level. And so they calculated more or less how long it took for the Earth above that point to take, and they say, well, it's 65 million years, plus or minus maybe another million years. And for these people to say, well, we never found a dinosaur before 1880s, you know, what can I say? These things are recorded. There's no reason to doubt them, that someone found, you know, megalodon and iguanodon and whatever. Okay, there's no reason to doubt that. Okay, why would anyone lie about something like that? Are they trying to get their name in lights or something? You know, so I don't know what to tell them. Here's another individual. I think she's a lady, and she says, humans were around even with the dinosaurs. We did not live in their areas. Absolutely love that, you know. And yeah, I guess they were around, but I think she's wrong. I think we were in the same area, as you can see. You know, we had our cars and parked next to the to the park, at the Jurassic Park. So I don't know what to tell her. Some people believe these things, and they really are strongly about, have strong feelings about these things. They say, no, humans were around at the same time as the dinosaurs. You know, that was 65 million years ago. What can we say, you know? I can't take these people seriously. But yeah, they believe these things, and I don't know what to tell them. Okay. Here's another fellow that says something about that. He says, there is no precedent for intelligent human life becoming extinct. Also, the motivating factor for production historically has not always been monetary compensation. When economics fall apart, or when economies fall apart, the zealots take power. Well, I'm just going to address the first part of that. We're the only intelligent humans that have been around. But there's other hominids, you know, like the Neanderthals. They've been around. They were pretty intelligent, and they're no longer around. So they did become extinct. And before them, the Heidelbergs, you know, Heidelbergensis, Homo heidelbergensis. And before that, Homo erectus and Homo habilis, and you got them all, the whole line. They've all disappeared at some point. And so what can I tell you, you know? Again, I cannot speak for everybody has different facts or makes different assumptions. And if you have a very irrational assumption, or your assumption doesn't match the record at all, or you're challenging the record, but a record that there's no reason to challenge, well, then you're going to end up with a different theory, and your theory may not be very rational because your starting point was not very good. Okay? All I can say is think about that. And last point here I want to make, a fellow says, we agree with Jeffrey's general theory of stellar metamorphosis, the general idea anyway. This does not really have to do with extinction. It has to do with creation, with where do we come from, you know, but it's part of the life cycle, you know, beginning and end, you know, alpha and omega. And no, Jeffrey did not come up with that, okay? And for those of you who want to understand what this fellow is talking about, I made a video, number 25 there. Earth is older than the sun. You can look it up in my other channel, my main channel. There I wrote or pointed to that link. And you can read Oparin's paper, 1926. And he's the guy who came up with the so-called theory of stellar metamorphosis, which Jeff relabeled.